Hello and welcome to another episode of Count Stackula. Today we're going to talk about more poured silver. All right, let's get into it. Alright, so these are some pieces that I may have showed on the channel before, these ones in particular. I don't know if I shared these ones. These were rather recent, and they're obviously the same, but you get to see them in their more raw form and without any kind of toning. So straight silver pours. And yeah, so basically these are all pours done with my graphite technique using molds that I CNC machined. And these ones have been artificially toned, and I have developed a really cool method to make sure that that toning remains on the bar without fading. So that's really cool, and I have marked these as I've shown on the channel before. These ones still have not been marked because I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to keep them, but they definitely do make a good representation of what happens to the graphite mold after it's been used a couple of times. Because I think if you were to really kind of take a closer look at both of these, you'd probably see that this one definitely came out a little bit better than this one. Although it's hard to tell because of the finish. But anyway, that's really not what we're going to dwell on for this video, because as I have mentioned in the past that I have been working on gloss wax casting and various other methods to increase the overall detail and resolution on these silver pours. And well, I finally have something to share on the channel, and actually this is the second iteration, because the first one I was all excited to share with you guys last week. Well, this is why I didn't really make a video, was because I had a failure and I ended up not wanting to share it and remelt it. And so this is like the second version, better than the first. So let's take a look at one of the coins or one of the bars that came out of that. So now we are looking at some pretty extreme detail. Obviously this is the same design as the previous dragon bar, but you can see the difference in detail is pretty epic. And this is with the graphite pour, and this is with the lost wax casting method. Now, obviously, they're both pretty cool. This one has way more detail, no doubt about that. It came out just tremendously more detailed. But it's not perfect. And when it came out the second time, I was actually a little disappointed, because I thought that here we go, another failure. And well, technically it is kind of a fail, because although I don't know if you could see it on this camera, but if you look really, really close up at it, you'll see that there's bubbles in a lot of the undercuts and overhangs, and it's hard to point them out. I would need like a little needle because they're that small. But if you look into the hair of the dragon, you'll see a bunch of little bubbles and things that don't belong. And I actually have another one from that cast because I wanted to test how well they stack. And at the same issue arose for both bars. I guess maybe this one's a little bit better than the other. But it has somewhat of a satin or gunmetal finish to it. As you can see, it's not quite as bright white as the graphite pours, and that's because this isn't exactly how they come out when they are cooled from the mold. Basically, they they have like kind of a white fire scale is what it's called on them, and it's really hard to see what's going on. Plus they also have some leftover investment plaster stuck in a lot of the grooves and stuff. And again, looking at the other side, you can see a lot of tiny micro bubbles in some of the overhangs. But let's not dwell on the defects right now. Let's take a look at the success of this, because I decided to keep it, at least for now, because it, I did change the design slightly, as you can tell from the side of the piece, where this border is, just flat up against the edge. I rounded the edges on this one, so it looks a little less rigid, or ridged, on the edge. You'll have to tell me which one you prefer. I also think that this one has maybe a little bit more depth than these ones, just because I felt like too much detail would probably, create more problems in the appearance. But these do stack, and they stack really well, actually. Like, as I've demonstrated before, let's take a look. As you can see, I'm holding just the bottom, and it stacks pretty good. Let's try it the other way around. One side is better than the other because of those bubbles. Let's see here. Yeah, so it stacks pretty well. I like that. And if you press it down, let's see what happens. I know, like, one time I tried this and I pressed it down and it actually stayed past vertical. That was pretty exciting. So, no, it doesn't do it anymore. But yeah, it still stacks, which is crazy cool. That's how I designed it, though, so it should be doing that. Now, the gunmetal finish is pretty cool, and I might keep one just like that, because when you look at all the different finishes stacked up against each other, they kind of add a lot of, variation, which I like. Let's take a look at another of the designs, the other dragon that we have here. So we got two dragons, and let's take a look at the graphite mold versus the lost wax casting. And again, if you look super close, like, you can barely see this stuff with the naked eye, but if you can tell, there's definitely a lot of bubbles in the undercuts of the bar. But the trade-off is you get all this really great definition. Now, I am going to try some techniques to remove that issue, to basically lessen the bubbles you see there, even on the sides here a little bit. But I'm going to try my best to work that out of the equation. It's going to take some time. Wow, that toning really looks nice, though, doesn't it, on this one? Yeah, I can't wait to tone up some more silver. I just love the colors on this stuff. But getting back to the goal, I was super excited to try out some new techniques, because I actually I changed the overall design on a lot of this stuff, and it's like I said, I added a rounded edge, a beveled edge to the other one. I did not add the beveled edge to this one. As you can see, it's still got its ridges, and that makes it, it's unique. So it's actually a different variety. This one's the rounded. This is the raw edges. But let's get this little scale on camera and see if we can get a reading. I've got it set to ounces Troy, and we're going to take a look at how close I got. 1.9 even, and yeah, I was shooting for 2 ounces, so I came up short again. The original, let's look at, the original was 1.81, so you can tell I did go bigger, and I think this one's going to be the same, 1.82. All right. Looking at the original version of this guy, it was 1.75, and now the newer version, which, mind you, I was attempting to get 2 ounces on all of these, and it came up a little bit more at 1.86. So I'm definitely off with my calculations, and I was calculating these things based on volume, but believe it or not, either the program that I'm using to calculate the volume is inaccurate, which I believe it probably is the case that it's inaccurate, because I have these pieces, some of these pieces were supposed to be exactly the same volume, yet they give a different weight for each of them. So I know that the volume estimates are really just that. They're just estimates. They're not close at all. The computer's not that great at calculating volume in the real world. So I just have to kind of play with the numbers, but eventually I might give up and say, fuck even numbers, and just go with these, odd decimal point numbers, and just go with it, because it's too much work to start from scratch, to be quite honest. Let's take a look at some of the more failures within the bunch. So there was one piece that was saved from the first casting that I did a week ago, and that is this one here. And it was only saved because I couldn't fit it in the crucible, but let's take a look at it. It is the Pegasus, and yeah, it has like a lot of bubbles. This was like what all of the first casting looked like. It was tons of bubbles, and I think it has a lot to do with maybe how I mixed the investment to get these bubbles, probably. That's usually where bubbles occur. So the design did not come out nearly as detailed as it was intended to. And this one was from the second. Let's take a look at the most recent one, but still had lots of issues. This side actually came out okay, and that is the concave side, or the stacker side, so the reverse. And this is the obverse, and it's a floral arrangement, but actually it got washed out here. Washing is a defect that occurs also on the investment plaster, where it basically erodes either when the metal is going in or when the wax is coming out. But somewhere along the way, the deformation of the porcelain, or the investment ceramic, basically makes the mold not complete. It just kind of erodes. But we also have some really crazy bubbles going on there right in this center, but also on the sides, as you can see. So there, lots of bubbles, lots of micro bubbles. This is just where I cut off the sprue. There was another sprue there. I didn't bother to finish this. I threw this in the tumbler to get the gunmetal finish and get the fire scale off, and so I could just throw it back in the hopper next time I want to go melt some silver. But these two will get remelted for sure. I think, though, I'm probably going to keep these, even though they're less than perfect. They came out well enough that I think it's okay to keep as examples for reference. We'll see whether or not I ended up later on keeping them, selling them, or remelting them. But I will be probably at least using them for practice, doing, experiment on the finish to see if I can, shine them up, get them looking real nice. And I might just keep them like that because they kind of look like an antiqued finish. So that is what's going on in the poured silver, in my poured silver world right now. I hope you have enjoyed that section of the video. We're going to also talk a little bit about my 3D printed boxes. Those are going well, and they're selling fast. Guys, thank you so much for all the orders recently. I got myself an extra 3D printer, and whenever I get a new 3D printer, there's always like a little bit of frustration involved because I have to kind of really dial in those settings. They're not all the same, and so it takes me a lot of time to get those settings, and what end up happening is like I usually get some defects along the way. As you can see here, this just did not come out right, and I have a number of defect boxes that are functional, they'll work, they just have some unsightly defects that you can see and feel, but maybe on the surface finish it's not perfect. But I do have these also. They are available. Just message me if you want one. They are 50% off the normal retail price, and combined shipping on any of your orders. Just ask. That's not a problem. But so any defect boxes that have like these visual defects, they're obviously not functional defects. There's nothing wrong with these boxes, for example, but they are maybe a little bit visually not as pleasing, maybe have some dings, dents, or bad adhesion to the bed. And that can also include like warping issues. Any defect box is still available at half off, at 50% price. Just so I don't like the idea of tossing these back into the landfill or whatever and creating more waste. I'd rather sell them at a discount if you're interested in picking up some boxes. So keep that in mind. I might create a specific listing for some of the defect boxes, but for right now, it's through messaging only on eBay or Instagram if you contact me. So, but in terms of new products, I definitely want to show this one off, because even though it was a flaw, this was like one of the prototype attempts at making a 1 ounce bar 50 count side-by-side stacker, and it works. And I've already sold a couple of these, and they're awesome for your 1 ounce bars and capsules, standard size. These are the 10 pack, but we also have a 50 pack. And anything that I make in the 3D printing space, any of my coin boxes, they're always available in various sizes. And I'm trying to add more sizes as I go, but I really only want to make the sizes that people want and that ask for. So I'm more than happy to do that at no extra cost to you. So if there's a particular size of a box that you'd like to have in one of the categories that I'm already making, or even one that I'm not already making and you want me to make it, hit me up, because I'd be more than happy to create some product, especially if more than one people are interested. So anyway, that is going to do it for us today, y'all. I hope you enjoyed this video with Count Stackula. We got more poured silver coming, hopefully on a weekly basis. I found my rhythm, I think, with this, and I'm still working out a lot of kinks and details, but as soon as I perfect my method, I think we'll be getting to a point where I can actually maybe start auctioning off some pieces or something. I don't know, but right now it's really cool to just have a collection of my own poured silver, because they're, well, awesome. So thanks again so much for watching. Hit that like button, smash the subscribe, and leave a comment. I want to know what you're thinking down below. I'll catch you on the next one. This is Count Stackula. Peace.